So I decided to put a little video together about snap together track. This happens to be lifelike. There's different variations. There's easy track from Bachmann, and then there's Kato, and all of those have different connections. But if you happen to have lifelike like I do, there's these little brass like connections here, and if these little tabs, if you can see them, if they're mashed down flat, or this whole thing's pulled apart somehow from all of this snapping together and pulling and stuff, you're going to have a bad connection, and your locomotive's going to stop and sputter and do all kinds of stuff. So to keep the flow of current going, what you do is take one of these small screwdrivers. This is size 1/4 by 25 on there, and they have this one come from Harbor Freight, and they're small enough you can get in here and you just pull and twist a little bit. You just pull it up and then twist and pull these out just a little bit. You don't have to do a lot, so that way they're sticking up, and then when you connect your track together, you have a better connection. And I believe this one's sticking up here, yeah. So then you go ahead and connect the power source here. To test it out and see if that's the answer, like it was for me. So I'm taking this multimeter tester and I've set it to 200 down here, 200 ohms. That's supposed to be like a general setting for most electrical stuff. And then of course it says 1, which means there is an open current. So now let's see how this came out. Better turn some power on first. And then you see it kind of light up here. See if I can get the light to come on that. And it indicates you've got power even when you're away from the power source. And of course naturally you'd have it here. And just go down the line checking your track with this multimeter. They seem to work the best. And then turn it to this setting, and wherever you have a spot where the locomotive is dying all the time, then just take it apart and check these connections. Make sure these tabs are pulled out a little bit. And then once you do, they'll rub against each other and cause the friction and get the electricity going. So that's the first part of my discovery about busing power. So what I have here is 2 derailleurs from Lifelike, and these are what the company provides to supply power to the track. So it's the easiest way to hook it up without having to go and make cuts in the back here and then try and, or drill a hole through here and try and connect your power source. It's easier just to use what they give you. And so this is how it's supposed to be when it comes. 22 gauge wire with the female connectors, which are very small, and then they just slide right in here. But because I'm using 18 gauge wire that's required by MRC to run a 6 amp power pack. It's thicker, which means that I have to use these type of female connectors. These are 1/4 inch, and they won't fit into this size of a setup. They're too wide. So in order to get it on the wire on there, I have to solder it on. And then I've got soldered here and here. I put a little flux on there. Excuse me. And to get it to stick and everything. And then I just hot wire them in there. And then I have this wire short here with these male connectors of the same size as this, so that allows me to move my power source from the bus that I have that's going into the connected to the power pack anywhere that I want on the track where I need the power the most. And excuse me. So and then that will allow you to be mobile. So if you want to put an L-shaped track together or an oval shaped track together, or you want to run it into another room and have a really long track, of course you're going to need to extend that power and bus it further away, and you may need to make adjustments. You may need to take this apart and put it somewhere else where it won't have an open circuit that trips your power pack. So rather than just having the line soldered here and run it all the way back to the bus, it's nice to have a disconnect on this end so you can take it apart when you need to and move it where you need the power source and where it's going to work the best. And to compensate for not having one long wire under here with 22-inch gauge wire like this attached with suitcase connectors, it's very difficult to do that on carpet track that's snapped together. So you have to find another way with carpet track. And this is the way that's working for me. But to compensate for the not having feeder wires, you gotta double check these connections, make sure they pop out a little bit so they rub against each other when they're connected, and makes a nice solid connection. You could probably try feeder wires, but it would be very complicated, and without bench work underneath it, there's no space to do any of that kind of stuff. So this is the way that I found to bus power with snap together track. So what I have down here is my MRC sound controller with power supply, and then of course I have my remote control. I haven't had the same problems with the remote as some have had in the past, where you turn the speed up and then it just keeps going and going and going without you even turning it up. I haven't had that trouble with this. See, I got power turned on now and it's not continuing to go. So I guess maybe MRC had fixed the problem that they were having. And what I like about busing power this way is I have this really neat looking bus that came from Germany. They make it down there. I don't know how to pronounce the name, but this is what it looks like here. And I got it online. And what I like about the way it works is that I don't have to go and put some open-end connection in like the traditional ones we get here in this country with a bus system. I can go ahead and take the wires, and let's see if I have an example. Well, not one right here, but I can take the wires, and if you can see it, and just stick it straight into these connections and then screw it back down without having to do an extra step of splicing together some open-in connector and then slipping it under a screw and tightening it down. The other thing I like about it is that it comes in a straight row, so I can have the lines go one direction, and I don't have to have it split out this way like they do with the bus systems that they sell in this country. And then you've got, let's see if I can open this one up. It's easy to figure out where your wires are between your positive and your negative, because it's got down here A, B, A, B. So you could put A for positive, B for negative. Plus there's leads on this end, which is another feature I like. So when the power is applied, the lead comes on and tells you got power, whereas other ones I've seen on the market, you don't know you got power till you have it. And sometimes you have it on a low frequency and then nothing's happening, and you're thinking, well, I don't have any power, so I got to check all my connections, and this kind of takes the work out of that because it tells you that you do, so you can check something else. And it's a 2.0 volt bus, and I really like it. It's really nice. And then it comes with these little screws and then spacers for when you want to hook it to your control board on your layout, which I don't have a layout, but if you do have one, it comes with that. And then when I turn this on, as you can see down here, it's kind of hard to see, but let's see if this will focus in a little more. Okay, you can see that little green light is on. That's the forward position, meaning the train will go forward, and that I have power. So that's what I like. And then I've hooked this, the brain of it, into the end of this with 18 gauge wire, and then I've bussed all my connections from different points on the track where I'm supplying extra power where I need it into this system. So this goes into here, and then from here it goes out, and there's a connection down here on this track. And then I've got another one on the other end, and what I've discovered is that you have to test it out, because if you get your other re-rail piece that I showed earlier too close to this, it will short it out. So you gotta spread it to the furthest end of your track when you're hooking it up, to keep it from becoming an open circuit and shorting it out. So from here, I've connected another power source to the furthest end of this track, and then this keeps it from shorting out. And then I connect it this way, and I put these books down to hold the wire, and then here's my other two connections. So if I want to move this power source somewhere else, I can just disconnect it there and move it. And I did have it connected down here where this wire was, and that's when it was too close to the power pack, and then that's what caused it to become an open circuit. So you got to go to the furthest end down here.